knocking someone out is pretty close to coming second, I think, as well. So the world is a dangerous place. So if you can't defend yourself or your family, not much good.
And if you pull the upset on Saturday night, and you do so this is going to be just Australian series. First of all, have you got any idols? Australian idols of boxing. When you were a kid, was there anyone that you looked up to, like in the fight world, or?
Not really, because like I said, I've only been boxing for 10 years. I didn't have an amateur pedigree. I never really, even like as a young kid, I didn't watch martial arts or boxing or anything on TV, so I was strictly like a rugby league and rugby union child. We come from a rugby league family, and got into mixed martial arts. I had my MMA heroes, obviously the UFC, but with the Australian boxing scene, not really. It wasn't until I really started getting into boxing a bit more and finding out about the history of boxing within Australia. But, Jeff Fennick is probably our greatest all-time boxer. He got a world title within about 7 fights or something like that, and versus quality opposition.
And who's your footy team?
My footy team? Back home, it used to be the Cronulla Sharks, actually, but I've lost touch with the rugby league as well, so I've just pretty much focused on boxing now, watching boxing in UFC. But my great-grandfather was the first person to ever score for Parramatta Eels back in 1947, and he was also a bare-knuckle boxer back in the day. It's all on my father's side as well, so it's a good bit of history there. So Parramatta Eels, first try scorer ever when they first started, back in 47, and also like to punch on as well, so that's where I must get it from.
That's mental.
Yeah.
Did your dad have any effect in his career? Did he do any sports after your granddad, or was it on your mum's side? Sorry.
No, it was all on my father's side. Yeah. So Fred Snowy McKean was his name, which is my father's grandfather. So it's obviously the whole father's side is a strong footy family. They've all played rugby league, and me and my two brothers, we played rugby league also, and got into it at an early age, about 6 years old. So I actually, when I was training in Melbourne, in the off-season of rugby league players, they're all boxing in the off-season. They love it, yeah.
They are machines. I remember I was doing a session, there was a bunch of guys, probably 90 kilo plus, very big lads, and they were hitting the pad so quick, so fast, that I thought there's no way they're going to be doing this for an hour and a half. It was like 38 degrees outside. Yeah. And they did. The whole entire session, the gas tanks were incredible. Like, it's a different sport out there. Like, I don't know how you guys, this is why you're so good at so many sports.
Yeah.
It's the heat that you've got to deal with. Like, a lot of you guys, I just feel like are very natural in many different sports. Is it taught in schools or something? Yeah,
I think it's just like we have access to a lot of schools, and we are a lot of sports, and we start from such a young age, tennis, swimming, footy, AFL, like everything is and then obviously with PE in school, we play about 4 different sports every year as well. So I think it's just we're just a big sporting nation. It's very outdoorsy country. The weather's always good. A lot of cities are by the beaches as well. So we're a very fit nation also. So which is good.
So what I noticed when I was boxing out there, I only amateur, but what I noticed was there was a very big gap between novices and the elite. Mm-hmm. Did you find that when you were doing Muay Thai, MMA, boxing, did you really find that it was very difficult to go from sparring fellas, especially as a heavyweight, sparring guys that are either way too good or they're sort of at the start of their journey?
Yeah, definitely. We get a lot of guys that turn over as pros, without even going through the amateur scene. And I was one of those guys, but I had a bit of experience and I trained hard, in mixed martial arts. But the reason we did jump over from MMA to boxing and make that permanent decision was we struggled getting opponents. I had semi-professional fights in mixed martial arts, and we were trying to turn professional. And we couldn't get an opponent. We went to fight the number 1 in Australia for the light heavyweight division. I think he was 10-0 at the time, and he sent a spy into the gym, and not long after pulled out of that fight and claimed he couldn't fight it that way, but he could fight at a heavier weight, but he had a knee injury. The whole thing was just suspect, and the fight never went ahead. So I was like, the whole time I was trying to make a pro debut. We couldn't even fight the number 1 in the country that had 10 plus professional fights over me. So that's when the boxing fight come about. Had that one, went back to MMA, got stuffed around another 6 months, another professional boxing fight come about, and I took that and I thought, mate, I'm sticking to this. Less injuries. It's pretty good money at the time, what I thought was good money anyway, and didn't have to worry about guys trying to take them down to the ground, elbow me in the face. So that was another added bonus right there.
Who was it that introduced you to boxing?
It would have been my coach at the time, Curtis Pegararo, when I was doing my stand-up training at a Muay Thai and boxing gym. And he was the one that said, look, there's a professional boxing fight coming out on Malik Scott and Alex Leopai card in Brisbane. And I was a bit tentative, and I was like, nah, all these guys have 100 amateur pro fights before. I've only had a handful of MMA fights. He said, you'll be all right, you got good stand-up. And, I took the leap out there, and I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I took that fight and gave me the taste of boxing.
How did you find the transition? Because obviously in boxing it is so different. I've dabbled in like Muay Thai and stuff, and I just can't get my head around the stances.
Yeah.
Did you just have to learn from scratch after already being established in MMA and Muay Thai?
Yeah, it was kind of a bit of yes. Like MMA and Muay Thai stances are completely different on its own. Muay Thai, you're quite up on the toes and standing quite tall, and MMA is probably more similar to boxing, a bit more kind of sitting in the pocket a little bit more. But I tell you what, I did, like when I had that pro boxing fight debut, I ended up in the clinch at one point, and I went to lift my knee up to drive the knee in, so I had to kind of refrain. Obviously, I was trained in mixed martial arts up until that whole week, and then jumping straight into boxing, so it was a bit of a change of pace and technique, but, I adapt quite quickly no matter what sport I do. So
let's talk about Aussie boxing right now. It's in a golden era, isn't it?
Definitely, we got some good champions at the moment. We've had some world champions lose their titles as of late, but we're in a good position. And like we talked about earlier, DAZN's looking to branch out in Australia, and big plans there, and signing George Kambosos, who we know sells out arenas in Australia. So big things ahead. We've always had a good crop of fighters. It's just now getting the eyes to see those fighters.
So you've got these superstars, and how comes all of a sudden it's happening now? Do you think it's that sort of that intermission period, sort of post-COVID, that you've now seen a lot of people turn professional as well? Like you've even got quite a few novices. Do you know Paulo Aokuso?
Yes, I know Paulo, and he's one of my coaches. Used to train him also and deal with him, but he's another great southpaw also, just like myself. He's another great fighter on the rise, and we've got heaps of good fighters out in Australia, and starting to get the showcase. But it's funny, isn't it? It's just like we've always had these good fighters, but it's like now we're actually starting to get the platforms for these guys to fight on. And my manager Angelo DiCarlo, he's probably good, highly responsible for a lot of that. He got me the contract, and Liam Parr also the contract with Matchroom, and then and followed suit, and more Australians are signing with these bigger promotions.
Have you seen boxing at the grassroots level in Australia change?
Yeah, look, I've only moved back to Australia about a year ago as well. I was living in the UK out of Essex, training at the Matchroom gym for a couple of years, and obviously it was full steam we had there. And while I've been back, it's in and out of training camps, but I have been into the gyms, and we do have a highly motivated bunch of young fighters on the rise. And especially when they're looking up to the current crop of fighters we have, the world champions, Jaya Pateas, Liam Paros, George Kambosos, it's just added drive and more motivation for those kids to keep pushing in the gym.
And then you've even got, obviously in MMA, you've got like your Robert Whitakers and stuff. What would you say is most popular right now in Australia, MMA or boxing?
Oh, geez, it's a tough one. I'd have to say MMA. I think it's just a global domination at the moment. The UFC is just literally taken over. They do things like at a grand scale, Do
you watch the Embedded series on Fight Weeks and stuff?
No, not really.
They're so good.
Yeah, I know. They're back. I have seen them as well, but this just they're around the clock. Just what they do. They have fight shows on almost every week and during the week, and replays, and they've got their own app, and it's massive what they do. And I know Eddie Hearn even talks about his team to watch what these guys do, and they are at the top of their game. And I think it's a fresh new sport as well. But mate, boxing is really coming back also, and I think it's got to do with the Riyadh season, and obviously His Excellency making these big fights, because I think boxing was in a bit of a dead zone at a point there. It was starting to die off a little bit, but now we're starting to get these mega fights again. These guys are getting offered money they can't say no to as well, which is why we're getting these fights, and it's revitalised. We're on the way back.
Sunday morning you got fights in the UK, Sunday afternoon you got fights in America.
Yeah.
So you've got a lovely day of sport on a Sunday,
Definitely.
Foreign sport, which
Definitely.
is great. Like even for Riyadh season this week, you have all your mates watching you. What time will it be in Australia?
Geez, depends what time I fight. Like I was talking to Jamie Wood yesterday, and he reckons last time the Riyadh season, he didn't leave till about the sun was coming up 6 a.m, and Fury finished fighting at about 2-3 o'clock in the morning. So if that's the case, I'm probably expect to fight about midnight, and if I fight at midnight, it'll be 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, which isn't too bad. So at least the boys won't be waking up too early at the crack of dawn or 4 a.m, where it's going to be a bit rough. So, but we'll have to see what time we're more scheduled. But it would be, I'd say, 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. roughly.
And what do you think about Australian boxing fans as a whole? Do you think they're positive? Do you think they're quite toxic? Just on a general scale, I know boxing fans in general are usually quite negative. Like,
Yeah.
they're always pointing fingers. Like, we
Yeah.
did a post earlier and someone's like, he's going to lose. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
It's been
Two
up
men
5
enter,
minutes.
one guy's got to lose, but it's not going to be me. But it is, mate. Like it's. I think it's anywhere. Like Aussies, we're kind of known for having that tall poppy syndrome as well, and I think UK guys are quite similar as well. Like people. I know it's always the people that are the most unathletic people going as well. It's the people that have never trained, never laced up a pair of gloves, never got in the gym. The ones that say something negative, but if you've trained in a gym, you've sparred a couple of rounds, you kind of know what us fighters go through, and no one should be getting slandered negatively at all. The amount we put our bodies through to showcase and put on a show for the fans. It's sometimes it hurts, but you can't read into all that as well. Like there's always going to be negative comments, there's always going to be positive comments as well, and you just focus on what you can control.
It's so easy to snipe someone. It's so easy to have your little negative input and be on your high ground.
Especially when they come from like fake profiles. Like, bro, what are you even doing, man? Like you're creating a fake profile to write something negative. It's just you can't help but to feel sorry for half these people, But it is what it is, and it's never going to change, So I just got to keep on doing you.
Yeah, I love posting knockouts and everything else. It's always exciting, but seeing them live, it's pretty scary. It's not nice.
It's a daunting thing,
live.
mate.
It is. I was there for Fraser Clark against Fabio
I know.
Wardley, and I was so close to him, and you heard the bloody crack. It's so nice to see those things online and be like, wow.
Yeah.
But the real harsh reality of it is so different. Like you guys as fighters, what you put yourself through, what you're so vulnerable in that ring.
It's a fear of causing injury or getting injury, a fear of death even as well. There's boxers that die every year around the world. It's a scary thing, and obviously it's hard, like you said about Fraser Clark, it's hard to celebrate a win like that and to celebrate and cheer when there's obviously someone's caused a bit of damage there as well. So, but that's the harsh reality of boxing, isn't it? It's dangerous, like the modern day gladiators. It's 2 men enter, 1 man leaves victorious, and 9 times out of 10 someone's going to be getting hurt. So it's a scary place, but that's why you always got to be on your game and train hard.
And what's it like for you when you knock somebody out? What is that feeling like? What goes through your mind? Because it's mixed emotions, isn't it?
Oh, mate, it's the best feeling ever after talking like this as well. It's a funny thing. It's like that's the cherry on the cake. That's what you train so hard for as well. That's the checkmate in the game of chess, isn't it? So that's obviously the outcome we all want, and as long as they come out healthy and happy and go back to their family also. But mate, it is. That feeling is very hard to beat. I'll tell you what. Obviously, I had the birth of my son 4 months ago as well, and that's the best feeling on earth. And knocking someone out is pretty close to coming second, I think, as well. So, yeah, it's a great feeling. So hopefully, I come away with one on Saturday night.
Oh, congratulations on your son.
Thank you.
That's brilliant. Would you have him box?
I would have him box, definitely, but I don't know about competing as well. Obviously, he's got to make his own path. I don't think mum's too keen on him fighting ever, but I think if every child done a form of martial arts or boxing, the world would be a better place. So 100% my son will be boxing or learning jiu-jitsu or some form of martial arts from a young age, and he doesn't have to compete. Kids don't have to compete. It's just they learn the self-discipline, the self-respect, and self-defense also. The world is a dangerous place, so if you can't defend yourself or your family, not much good.
What we're struggling in England with, as you know, knife crime and
it's
kids,
bad.
They lack respect and all these other things. But what boxing teaches you, or any martial art, everything you just said there, it just makes you a better human being.
Exactly, and it nullifies bullying as well. Like I guarantee you'd stop bullying, anxiety, depression. Like it's been proven time and time again the amount of wonders it does. So hopefully we can get something like that pushed across. That would be great.
So Jai Pataya has just been announced fighting David Nika.
That's crack of a fight. I've sparred both guys in this camp as well. David likes to go southpaw, and obviously he switched to southpaw for us, and he's good. He's crafty. He's got a very high IQ as well, and then Jai is just an animal as well, and obviously done some rounds of Jai towards the end of the camp, and both guys are fit as well, and David obviously taking the fight on 3 weeks notice, but I've been sparring him and he's been breezing through 8 rounds quite easy, and obviously getting some good southpaw work in with myself as well, so I would have that confidence rather than just taking a fight on short notice and no sparring of southpaw. So good fight, I'm looking forward to that. It's a great fight for Australia as well, good blockbuster fight, much better than the mandatory that was ordered. Obviously within Australia you want to see Aussies fighting Aussies on the highest level, so, and for a big world title like that, it's massive.
And I guess you're not going to call who wins.
Yeah, I don't think I would. It's going to. I like both guys, honestly, and they're both both got their own great skill set, but I think it's going to be a lot closer fight than what people are expecting.
I just can't see anyone beating Jai.
Yeah, he's a beast,
really
isn't he? He really is an animal. So just his speed and his in and out movement. He's just such a tricky operator, and it's good to get some good rounds in with him. He's invaluable rounds. You know, he's definitely world champion for a reason.
You see a lot of guys that go from the amateurs to pro that end up guard up, quite flat-footed, taking too many shots. I don't know why more people haven't done what Jai's done. When you see just how well he is, like even his fights with Breedis, like great fights. People overlook just how good Breedis is.
Yeah, definitely. And Usyk's another one. Usyk's kind of got that similar style, and both southpaws as well. So maybe there's something in the water there also. But you know, I think if you can kind of master that style, it's and you can keep up that pace also. It works wonders.
What would you say your biggest strengths are?
I'm a very agile heavyweight. I'm a big guy, almost 6'7", 113 kilos as well, and I'm quite agile in my speed. I think it's just my raw athleticism also. Like I said, I played a lot of sports and I don't have much time in boxing, but I have gone quite well considering how green I am. 10 years is still a novice as a boxer, with no amateur pedigree. Like, I've only had the 23 boxing fights ever. Some guys, like I said earlier, have hundreds of amateur fights before they even turn pro. So, I think it's my agileness and my speed.
And if you pull the upset on Saturday night, and when you pull the upset on Saturday night, and that's all done and dusted, how do you see 2025 going?
It's going to be big, mate. So obviously, I try not to look too far into the future as well. But obviously, getting past Moses here, you're going to line yourself up. You're going to be close to a world title fight, 100%. Especially getting those rankings of the WBA and WBO quite highly rated. So. And obviously, signing with Queensbury also, and they've got all the top heavyweights at the moment. So big fights, mate. Big fights. They've got all the top heavyweights at the moment. So and it's not hard to make those fights also when everyone's under the same umbrella. So. Do
you want to fight all these guys, all these big names? Do you want every single one of them before you retire?
Of course, I'd love to. I've fought one of the biggest names in my last fight, Hergovich. I'm fighting the greatest touted prospect in modern heavyweight boxing also. So I'm not here to take the easy route. We all dream of taking the hard fights and the big fights because it's the only way to be compensated and to get closer to a world title fight. We all want to fight for a world title. We all want to win a world title. We all want to make some good money and retire happily ever after also. So the only way to do that is take out the big fish, and to take out the big fish, you've got to keep fighting the big fish. So
100%. Well, Dempsey, thank you so much for coming on, and all the best on Saturday.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Excellent. Cheers.